Attention, please.
Attention. Do I have everybody's attention now? Burn it down!
This is the In My House Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Finally, The Rock has come back home.
Scotty Villa brings you your new favorite pro wrestling podcast.
There is nothing you could do that is more dangerous than wrestling CM Punk.
He's got the latest in covering all of the major promotions in professional wrestling.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
Breaking news and hot topics, he's covering everything from Monday night till Sunday night's main event.
I'm the hottest thing in professional wrestling. I'm Dr. Britt Baker.
And we never forget to go old school.
I was rowdy before rowdy was cool.
From the golden era
The irresistible force meeting the immovable object
to the attitude era.
And if you're not done with that, then he's got 2 words for you.
To the revolution.
It's about the 14 years it took me to go from undesirable to un-goddamn deniable.
And everything in between. This is your pro wrestling podcast. This is In My House.
Give me a hell yeah.
Welcome to my house, baby, take control now.
Ooh, welcome everybody to the In My Wrestling Podcast. It's me, Monday Night Mike, joined by the returning UK Tom. Doesn't look tanned at all. What the hell were you doing?
Well, I would have been if it didn't take Air Canada 5 days to get me home from Cancun.
Oh, and of
What the
course,
fuck?
everyone's favorite and defeated Scotty Villa is with us.
I'm battling it today, boys. I'm battling it, but I'm happy to be here.
But also, going back to UK Tom's travel woes, that had to be the most ludicrous flight situation I have ever heard.
Well, you should think yourself lucky you were not in Pearson Airport with me because I was cutting a promo on every motherfucker I could find.
Love it. Love it.
Bear
Rightfully
in-
so.
Bear in mind, we were stuck in Cancun Airport for 9 hours before we even got on a plane.
Gross.
Landed in Toronto at 1 a.m. We're then told to go and find a customer service person who wasn't fucking there to get us into a hotel. So I basically just grabbed an Air Canada person that happened to be walking through the terminal and yelled at them till they gave me a hotel.
Wow.
Which also, news to me, not to the Canadians, but to me, Brampton is not in Toronto. So James was not impressed when that's where our hotel was.
Oof.
Wow.
How long of a drive was that?
I have no idea. I was too busy cutting promos in the back of the taxi. And then we go back to the airport the next morning to find out that our flight to Regina is canceled and we have to fly home via Vancouver 4 days later.
That's where it's wild. There's no flight going to Calgary.
Well, I phoned them and I was like, get me anywhere within an 8-hour radius and give me a car.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, no, we don't do that. I'm like, well, you're fucking gonna. Anyway, but we made the best of it. We had a little trip, went to Cheesecake Factory.
Nice.
And then we got back to the airport on, I don't even know when, Sunday. We're delayed. We're on the plane. We're about to leave. And they were like, yeah, we're delayed even more. We then spent 2 hours driving around the Pearson runways to go and get de-iced, which as a nervous flyer, de-ice the fuck out of that plane.
Yeah.
So then we got to Vancouver. Quite like Vancouver Airport. Never been there before. Pretty good airport. Had a real good chicken burger.
Oh,
Nice.
Love hearing that.
And then flew 2.5 hours back on ourselves to Regina. So we got home 5 days late. Our luggage is yet to make it to Regina. So fuck knows where that is. Which some of my one of 10 wrestling shirts were in my luggage. So Air Canada are going to know about that if that doesn't show up soon.
I'd be
Anyway.
furious.
Do you know what's real good timing though?
Yeah.
We were literally about to leave the hotel, and I moved the lucha masks I got in Mexico from my suitcase to my carry-on, because if they had gone missing, I don't know what would have happened.
Wild,
Anyway.
dude. Share with the audience what lucha mask did you get?
I got a Mil Mascaras,
Cool.
a Psychosis with horns and frilly bits coming out of his face.
Nice.
I got an Octagon who's got the frilly bits on the side of his head, and a white and green La Parka mask, which includes the hood.
Oh wow.
It's very cool. I might have to rethink where they're living though, because it feels like they're watching me record right now, and gotta be honest, it's kind of freaking me out.
do you ever get startled just going downstairs to be like, ah?
Well, the funny thing is, so the basement is where my mom sleeps when she comes, and I was thinking, because I think the La Parka one is glow in the dark, so if she comes out to go pee in the night, she's not going to need to go upstairs to the bathroom as soon as that thing's there, because she will have peed. So they might have to be relocated, but they're really cool. I quite like them.
Were there any masks there that you were like now thinking like, damn, I should have bought that one too, or did you get the ones you wanted?
There was one that I wanted, and it's Camelito, the little green midget bear.
Oh yeah.
I wanted his mask was there, but I already bought these 4 and they weren't cheap. So I thought,
you didn't haggle? There's no haggling?
Oh, I haggled. They still weren't cheap.
Didn't do your job right then.
Well, I managed to get some really good looking replicas for a price that I was happy with. So
there you go. Nice.
The In My House Pro Wrestling podcast trip to Mexico will be different. I'll get those masks cheaper than ever before.
Was there any lucha wrestling on the TVs there at your resort, or?
I didn't turn the TV on, so I don't.
Wild. That is wild.
It's not wild.
It's wild to me.
What do you mean?
We don't. I turn the TV on at home on a Monday and a Friday when I'm watching Raw, SmackDown. I don't. We don't have the TV on really.
I love TV so much. I love it so much.
And he's on a hot holiday.
You got to check out the
Sitting there
TV.
watching TV.
You're telling me if you go to, let's say you go to like New York, you're not turning on the TV to watch what Love Is Hip Hop Atlanta?
Scott,
you're not checking it out? You're not checking that out?
I mean, traveling with Scotty Villa, yeah, the television's going to be on. And if Love and Hip Hop is on, then yeah, it's getting watched. But if I'm in New York City, I'm not watching television.
I gotta at least see what the layout is of the TV channels. That's a must. That's what I have to do in every different town, city I'm in. Have to.
You're like, I know now.
Dude, because when I grew up, NBC was channel 8, and I was like, this is great. This is every channel 8. And then I go somewhere else, and I'm like, it's channel 16 or channel 4, channel 10. How does this even happen? Why is this happening? I've got to look into it. Big TV channel guy over here, all right? Hey, stay rad.
Stay rad.
Stay rad. Stay rad.
Stay rad.
So last week was episode 100.
100 episodes of the show. Fuck you, Tom. Thanks for being here.
I did pop that you did verbatim read out my message.
Yeah, you had a message and it got delivered. It's a thankless job.
And I'd forgotten that I texted that to you until I listened to the show today. So that was quite funny.
You're like, oh, he quite literally wrote that.
I popped myself with my own message.
There you go.
You know what? Good.
On last week's episode, we talked about the released wrestlers from WWE and AEW. One of those wrestlers from AEW that got his release, his full-blown release, was Ricky Starks, which was very intriguing. Along with Malachi Black and Rusev, we dived into where we'd like to see these guys next. When will they pop up next? I remember myself saying that I don't want to see any of these guys until after Mania, or even during like WrestleMania week. But, I take some downtime and then make that big surprise happen. and it's a big pop and it's a big moment, and then you can kind of go forward, especially with people showing up in WWE. We're in Mania season and things are kind of locked in with those storylines going into that. Anybody debuting right now might be a bad idea. As soon as we were done recording, that was proven to be wrong, and because Ricky Stark showed up in AEW.
No, he showed up in NXT.
He showed up in NXT. Coming in the crowd with the microphone and cutting a nice little promo. Doesn't say his name. He goes on to say, judged by your reaction, you guys know who I am. And it got the wrestling world talking. Ooh, we got Ricky Starks already in NXT. What will happen next? Who will show up where next? And when it comes to the WWE releases, there wasn't any big names that are going out. Plus, they've got their 90-day no compete clause that they've got to wait out. The AEW talent that got their releases, they're according to the internet and the dirties, they're free and clear to show up wherever they want. So Rusev and Malachi Black can show up wherever they want, whenever they want. Do we think that both these guys are federation bound? Are they both going to the Fed?
Oh, that's got to be the plan, no?
I mean, it's the top company in the world. They've also got a pretty big roster. They've got wrestlers that are sitting on the sidelines, not doing a ton right now, too. Not to quite to the extent in AEW, in my opinion. But do we see them before WrestleMania?
I think we see, I guess he'd be Aleister Black
on
the SmackDown after WrestleMania.
Oh, wow.
And I think the SmackDown, because they moved Zelina Vega away from the LWO. Zelina Vega is married to Aleister Black. They're going to keep that couple together. I'm not actually sure whether we see Miro, Rusev, whatever you want to call him, back in, he didn't do anything really in AEW.
Oh yeah, we brought that up too. He was not doing much. Granted, maybe all these guys who left because of creative freedom, right? Like they went to AEW because they're just like, oh yeah, creative freedom there. I think it's best to be under the creative program of the Fed. Pretty shown it's building stars if you just
AEW, one of the things they have proved is not everybody should have creative freedom.
Correct.
Your ideas are not that good. Shut up and do as you're told.
I'm with you too. Do you think there's meetings now? It's a funny topic to bring up within AEW to be like, do we need to start learning from the Fed? That independent mindset that was running AEW for so long can't work and is not working. When does this change?
It's kind of hard to say because we don't know. We don't work anywhere.
Of course we don't, but we get to speculate.
Yeah,
right?
No, and that's the fun of speculating. I was going to get into that, but look, hey, I got it. Hey, look, I love you. Sorry, and I love you. I think when I think of that, of creative freedom plus doing what the bookers want, I think of the height of New Japan Pro Wrestling less than 10 years ago. Because that was the rumors, all right, the bookers want these stars in main events and we're pushing these, and these, but here's your bullet points and go from there. Especially when it came to Bullet Club, just from my recollection of the height of Bullet Club when it come to the Young Bucks and Kenny and Cody going over there and being part of that as well. From my understanding of what's been reported and what has been said in shoot interviews, they were allowed to kind of go over there and say what they want as long as they were pushing the match and the angle. And it worked. It worked well. And now it's not working in AEW. If that's the case, where these guys have their creative freedom and they're allowed to kind of go with whatever direction the boss is saying, hit your bullet points, but say what you want. It's not clicking right now. When you could say it clicked in the first couple of years, but it was also the honeymoon period of AEW where everything worked, no matter how good or bad it was.
I think they need to find the sweet spot. I think WWE need to keep doing what they're doing, and AEW need to find the sweet spot between what are WWE doing and staying as AEW. Like they don't want to become WWE 2.0. But what they do need to do is start punishing people that are like, well, I'm not putting them over, or like, well, fuck you then, get out.
Yeah.
It's weird because like the thing that makes them AEW, in my opinion, is the way their matches go, right? But when you're built off just like we got matches, you're like, yeah, but I am not in it in the way I am a WWE match. Sure, they're not filled with as many high spots or anything like that, but I'm more invested in the talent who is in the match. The storyline brought me there. Granted, like WWE is also in that weird spot of they have Netflix putting out their programming.
Yeah.
Like they have the ultimate thing of delivering like professional wrestling product to people who don't watch it. And they're doing it, and they've always done it on a grander scale, right? Like it's clearly the name in wrestling. But now it's just like, here you go. 80% of the world has it. They love flexing that.
The other thing is, yeah, AEW do have hey, we have matches, but right now, what matches do they have that people want to see?
Right? Like that's the big one is, or even if it is talents we love, I'm just like, I'm so tired of there not being anything worth building to. Like you think of in the height of like Punk MJF.
Yep.
Like how goddamn good the storytelling was, and then it built the great matches.
Well, I literally texted you guys earlier. Hey, is MGF still a wrestler?
Man.
Like
shouldn't have got that tattoo. Get that covered up, brother. Get that covered up.
One of my biggest issues with AEW is even if they do give us a story, whether it's short term or long term, to build to whatever the match is going to be or build up these superstars, these wrestlers, as soon as that's done, usually one of those people just disappears. Whoever loses the feud is gone for a few weeks or a few months. Like, and I feel like they lose steam all the time when they do things like that. So I feel like I can't trust the process as much as I can with the Fed. The Fed's done a great job of giving me stories that I'm invested in. And if people do go away, they've already got a plan to keep that person's name in their mouth or feed something out to be like, oh, they mentioned that guy. We haven't seen him in a couple of weeks. Is he coming back? There's too many guys in AEW just take time off, disappear after a storyline's done. And then they come back to a rush storyline again, which kind of feels force fed. It's this weird dynamic where I just don't trust the booking. I feel like I can't get invested in a wrestler over there because after 2-3 months, they could be gone again for a while. It just sucks.
Literally the only match I can think of that AEW could put out that might get my interest right now, and that's purely because it's so fucking weird that it could happen, is Okada versus Edge.
Yeah.
That's literally it. Or whatever Ospreay does. I will say that.
See, for me, and it's already been a match, we've seen it a good handful of times now, but in AEW, I really hope that they build towards Okada versus Omega. And I know we've seen that match many times, but it's been in Japan. It's been under that banner. And I, for some reason, am very excited to see that on North American TV under the AEW banner. And I think you could, if you build Okada up as this heel and you build Okada up or Omega up as the savior of AEW, I think eventually that could lead to people going, holy fuck, I need to buy this pay-per-view.
Oh, don't they have a stadium show in Texas this year?
Yeah, in July.
Is that in July?
I believe it's in June or July, yeah.
Great job, guys. Maybe they'll fill that out.
Maybe that's when we get Okada Omega.
I'd hope so.
Plan high-profile matches for then, but I mean, again, it's a structureless company, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of stadium shows, should we play one of our Let's Make Some Lists games with WrestleMania fantasy booking?
Yeah, we can do this. Yeah.
Okay. So, where's my list?
So to lay it out here, let's pull the curtain back a little bit for our listeners here, okay?
Again.
So,
awful.
Like maybe an hour or two ago, we're like, what the fuck do we talk about on the show this week?
we have a podcast about wrestling.
And Tom had brought up, and he'd mentioned it before. Tom's got great with coming up with ideas. Is WrestleMania main events that we never got, or we should have got, or it should have been a main event. And we're like, yeah, let's do that. That's great. It's Mania season. If you hit up our socials at In My House Pod, you can start seeing our WrestleMania must-see matches that we're going to recommend each week. Tom, you're on the clock for a Superstar of the Week, or Wrestler of the Week, and a Match of the Week.
Wow.
Or Mania match. So
I better think about that then.
yeah, you got time. You got time. Just wanted to put that bug in your ear. But we're going to get into WrestleMania main events that we should have gotten.
So it's also, well, mine are more, if this match happened, it could have main evented WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It's a little bit fantasy booking because at least one of these, it was never ever going to happen because they weren't in the company at the same time.
All right.
But my number one, and I believe it was actually talked about at one point and it just never happened, I think because he died. But Eddie Guerrero versus Shawn Michaels.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That could have been an all-time WrestleMania classic. I would have loved to have seen what those two would have done with each other in the ring.
Did they ever touch at
No.
all?
They were in the ring. It's my all-time favorite closing segment of Raw. And it was the 2004 draft. And it was Eddie Guerrero versus Triple H. And everyone in the fucking world came out. And Shawn Michaels came out and beat up Triple H a little bit. To my knowledge, that is the only time they were ever even in the ring at the same time.
Wild. Okay. That's a great match.
My second one, again, this is the next two are just where it becomes a little bit fantasy booking matches I think would have been interesting.
Oh, sure.
And this one, I get very specific because that's the way I am. But 2002 version of Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
Versus 1992 Vader.
Wild. Those guys would have literally beat the shit out of each other.
Great.
They would have stiffed each other as stiff as they wanted to, and the other guy would have taken it and gave it right back.
And just also an aspect that I didn't think about until right now. 2002 Lesnar could still do the shooting star press.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And 92 Vader was still busting out like his amazing moonsault.
Yeah.
Both of those in a WrestleMania main event. Plus just seeing how Vader would have bumped for Brock.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome.
And it flipped that around too. Vader's a great seller when he's up against 100%. A big guy. Brock is one of the best sellers of all time. Brock selling for Vader would have been awesome.
Yeah, I definitely, and again, like Eddie and Shawn, they could have stolen the entire show from whatever else was on there. My next match is more, I just wanted to see it happen. I don't think it would have been fantastic. It definitely would have been main event.
Mm-hmm.
And that is The Undertaker versus Andre the Giant.
Ooh.
Jesus. You want to talk about fucking Undertaker matches that should have happened.
Yeah. Put a pin in that for a second.
Yeah.
So when Taker comes in, Andre's on his last legs. I don't think he's actually wrestling anymore. It's
I think he had a couple matches, but
it wouldn't have been good. But the visual there, especially knowing what we know now about Undertaker and the legacy and the career that he's had and the worker that he is and the respect he's got for Andre, could have been
also,
real good.
Like the streak is the streak, and the streak was fantastic. But can you imagine if the streak started with Andre instead of Jimmy Snuka?
Oh, massive! That would have been absolutely massive. Yeah, that's a way to kick that off, right?
Wow, never thought of that.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's my free random matches that I think could have main evented WrestleMania. But Eddie and Shawn is definitely my number one that I
would have been so good. So good.
Man. Keeping on the heels of Undertaker matches.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, it's the fucking fumbling of Undertaker versus Sting. Like, oh my God. And you know what? Those guys have both such long careers in the business. The match would have been great.
Yeah.
The match would have been fucking excellent. Vince McMahon fucks up everything in my life.
I also
being a paralegal and all.
Don't think people would have been as pissed at Sting taking the loss for The Undertaker as they were for Triple H.
For sure.
Completely agree.
But the shenanigans were fun in that match. Like, I
Yes,
still
they
stand
were.
by that 31 shenanigans were still fun.
I mean,
But
we could have
it's
got
not
some,
ideal.
Could have got some shenanigans. Kane could have come out. I don't know.
Yeah, keep Kane the fuck away.
Kane, I guess we couldn't have had Paul Bearer, but
No, but I think that's like one of the biggest missteps when you got Sting. Like, if anything, you signed Sting, you're like, you're gonna wrestle the Undertaker. He's like, yeah, why else am I here?
Yeah. I also feel like the Federation should have done more to get Sting in at least that match when WCW died. I know Sting had a guaranteed contract with Turner, and he just sat out the rest of his contract and got paid and then went to TNA. I think the Fed could have done some work to be like, we'll give you an extra payday to come in for this program. We need that match. So I think there's a couple spots.
That could be a fun podcast session one day. Like, what? Rebook the WCW ECW alliance versus the WWE.
Yeah, get back on fucking work for a lot of those guys.
If they had all of the stars, Hogan, Goldberg, Sting.
Like, you can't blame those guys either. Like, I don't want to get into that. Like, it's free money just to sit at home. So take it.
Yeah.
But in terms of this, like, how Vince didn't see that Sting Taker was it, unless his plan was literally like, we're gonna do it in front of 100,000 people at 32. But Seth Rollins, made Sting 0-2. Never forget, 0-2.
Awesome. What else you got? Or is that
no, I could say stuff like, I'm sure everyone will think it too, like, as much as there was Rock Hogan, I think Austin Hogan would have been a huge moneymaker.
That should and it would definitely have been a main event.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, the biggest stars in wrestling, like, that would have been good. But obviously, I think the Shield triple threat at Mania was something that was fucked up on.
That would have been great.
Would have been awesome.
Who would you have had go over?
Oh, Roman's going over, right? Like, especially in that time where the Fed was really making it known. They didn't care. Like, at 32, when he beat Hunter, like, that place was not fucking thrilled. They were still not thrilled that he was getting the push, but it still would have happened. It still would have been Roman. But I think it would have even helped, like, the elevation of, like, Dean. I think Dean's, like, WWE run was still good.
Yes, so do I.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
It was a fine run till I don't know if he got injured or whatever, but then he came back as this goofy heel with the gas mask and everything, and that's when things went fucking south. But up until then, yeah.
And then Seth obviously is just a fucking talent, so he would have been fine with it. But I think the match itself just would have been great.
Would have been a hell of a match.
Yeah, would have been awesome. I'm with Mike when it comes to Sting and Taker. That's pretty much a given, but I'm going to add a gimmick to it, make it a buried alive match. I think it would have been fun. You could have, especially if it was going to be Sting's last match or if Taker loses. But
bury Sting anyway, you might as well bury him.
Or a casket match, something dark and spooky to kind of, give us a little bit more and just to change things up a little bit, because we're all basically saying Sting versus Taker should have happened at WrestleMania 100%. I'm going to name a main event that actually main evented a WrestleMania, but it should have happened again. At WrestleMania 13, it should have been the return match of Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels for that championship.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It 100% should have happened. Hatred got involved. Hey, no hate, guys. No hate, okay?
Apart from Air Canada, fuck you.
Those guys I'm here for the hate, especially in the business. Like,
but that match should have happened again. We should have gotten that return match because I think it would have been a fucking banger that I think we deserved as fans, if I'm being, and I don't like the word deserve a lot, but just the story leading up to 12, up to everything afterwards with Bret going away, coming back, it could have and should have been done, but some people lost their smile and it was a bit of a problem.
Fucking stupid.
And maybe this is a cop out again. I'm going to mention a match that happened at WrestleMania. I think it's happened twice, but I truly believe, knowing what we know now, this is definitely Monday morning quarterbacking. I believe a TLC match, triple threat TLC tag team title match should have happened as a main event when the tag team division was so fucking hot between the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian. It had stories. It had all three teams with storylines within themselves. I know it comes at a time where Rock and Austin are over and hot as fuck, as Hogan's back, all that stuff. I get it. I completely get it. But I think it could have main evented a WrestleMania. Did it steal the show at WrestleMania 17?
That was the gimmick battle royal, baby.
So I love tag team wrestling. Those matches were fucking awesome. And to hear the stories about how they plan the matches and the spots and put into it and how Edge almost missed one of them completely is absolutely wild to me. I think they're just super fun and great and could have main evented. Fellas.
Well, that leads us quite nicely into the fact that good old CWE is back in the Queen City on Thursday with a steel cage main event.
Oof.
And a whole bunch of new champions. Our buddy Chiz.
Chiz.
Yeah, the Chiz.
Very much looking forward to the show. We'll obviously talk about it next week. And if you're anyone in Regina who listens to us is at the show, come say hi. I can't promise I won't cut a promo on you, though.
I definitely will cut a promo on you. The fuck away from me.
Oh, God.
Very much looking forward to CWE being back.
It's looking like a great show. I've been saying it for the last couple of years, and they're definitely doing it. One of my little nitpicks was we didn't really get a lot of storylines going from show to show, and even though it's kind of quarterly when they come through, we weren't getting storylines. We're getting storylines now that are matching the shows that are specifically leading to a steel cage main event for this Thursday here in the Queen City. And it's going to be Kamikaze, who you've heard us interview on this show before, versus Hot Shot Danny Duggan.
And his amazing entrance.
His wonderful entrance that is, you have to fucking experience it. So get on out, go buy tickets. If you haven't gotten them yet, go buy tickets. They are available at the door as well. Sell that place out. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Thursday is a tough draw now. There's a pretty big hockey game happening that night that a lot of people are invested in. Look, do what we did a couple years ago at Survivor Series. Just PVR it, stay out the social media, go support pro wrestling. When you come back home, watch the game, get caught up. Don't worry about sleep. Sleep's fucking overrated sometimes when it comes to pro wrestling. So fucking just go out and support local pro wrestling because CW puts on a fantastic show. And there's a new world champion in CWE, new Canadian champion. It is Chad Daniels. The Cheers.
The Cheers.
So congrats to him. And guys, it's going to be a great, great show at CW this week. So like the guys said, come on over and say hello. Don't get too close to Mike.
I'm working on my flipper punch. You won't feel a thing.
But as always, hit us up on our socials at In My House Pod. Let us know some WrestleMania matches that you would have loved to have seen. What do you think could have main evented that we've never seen before? And we'll share them, retweet them, whatever it may be. But fellas, great show, real fun show. Stay warm. It's fucking cold outside. Really hope my car starts when I go out, leave work here in a second.
It was an 80-degree difference between Cancun and here. I nearly fucking died.
I bet. For UK Tom, Monday Night Mike, the timer's about to run out. I am Scotty Villa.
Arriba.
In My House Pro Wrestling Podcast.
Bitch.
Welcome to my house. Play that music too loud. Show me what you do now. We don't have to go out. Welcome to my house. Welcome to my house. Welcome to my house. It's my house. Yowie wowie.